Tom, I'll start with you. Wow, looked amazing. There's one point in the story where a character is reading a book, and it looks like it's an Arabian tale.
Yeah.
And I did a bit of reading on your film, and I believe it's a kind of modern retelling of an old
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it's more of a reinterpretation, if you like. Well, I read this. It's a very short sort of story. It's an old kind of Arabian tale, and after reading it, I couldn't really work out what the moral of the story was really, and I kind of suspected whatever it was not what I kind of concluded, if you like.
Yeah.
And so it became the framework for my film, which it just kind of helped to structure it in a way, you know. So there's lots of kind of, you know, visual links and things like that to it, as well as kind of narrative links as well. But the story itself is more about, well, it's about patriotism basically, because I've got quite a few sort of backgrounds, if you like. I'm part Polish, part Scottish, part Irish, and so I've never really felt as though I've got any kind of national identity.
Yeah.
So I've certainly never really fully understood people who feel really patriotic. And certainly, you know, to the extreme, people who are willing to, you know, join the army, say, and, you know, sacrifice themselves for the country. Exactly, yeah, to die. Obviously, not all soldiers do die, but you know, you're prepared to do that. And I wanted to try and express the unusual situation as I saw it in that kind of context, but in a different one, so that I can maybe, you know, if people see him, you know, quite godly, you know, take a pill and have his retirement. If people see that as quite a strange, unusual thing, such a big sacrifice, you know, I'm trying to sort of say, well, look, I see that as being not really any different to what any soldier might do. And so, really, the kind of the way it links back to this Arabian tale is that the main character of this tale, kind of, it's told he's going to be, you know, he's going to have all the joys of life. You know, he's going to have love. And power.
What's the tale? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I can give you kind of a quick bridge. Okay. So there's this person called Antar, and he's sort of self-ostracizing himself from society, and he's wandering through the desert, and he comes across this gazelle, which is being attacked by this, it's just described as a big bird.
Yeah.
And so he fights the bird and rescues the gazelle. And it turns out this gazelle was this sort of physical embodiment of this Arabian queen fairy person. And she basically, so she's so grateful that she says, you know, I'm going to give you the three joys of life, you know, the joy of love, the joy of power, and the joy of vengeance. And he says, okay, well in return, should I ever grow weary of these joys, I want you to take my life. So, as it kind of goes on, you know, he experiences all these things, or at least, you know, so it says, he doesn't really go into any specific details, and eventually grows weary of them, and so she takes his life. And after reading that, I kind of thought, well, I don't see how he could possibly have really experienced any of the joys of life, being ostracized from society, being on his own. And so he might think he's had these things, and so maybe that's why he's willing to give up his life. So maybe it's, you know, people who do that, perhaps, I don't know, maybe they feel as though they're fulfilled, or, you know, I don't know. So it was kind of, you know, got me started, if you like.
Having said that, you don't seem to judge that character at all.
No, well, I mean, just because I don't understand why anyone would do that, you know, say join the army, you know, give up their life, whatever, doesn't mean, you know, I know it's not crazy. It must be a sane thing to do, because people do it. You know, same people, you know, family members who've served in the army, you know, so I know. But yeah, so I don't judge him. I kind of think he's quite sad, because he clearly thinks he's having this great life. You know, he's got this great house and all this, but really, you know, I want him to come across as somebody who's probably quite lonely. You know, probably not really enjoying things. So he dies happy with his dignity, but really, he's kind of lived a bit of a hollow life.
Okay, tell us about the making of the film, particularly some of the production design, because every item seemed to be, you know, deliberately placed for
yeah.
effect.
Well, I mean, I did all the roles, obviously, for acting. I had a production assistant on 2 of the 3 days of filming. But yeah, I did about 6 weeks of pre-production where I wanted it to be quite a strong sort of direction with the sets and the props and everything, just to kind of reinforce this sort of this thing. You know, I thought you've got to kind of make what he does a bit believable, so you've got to and all these sort of things. He didn't really come across so much on the projector. It was a bit of a shame, really. It's, it's my fault. The gazelle had like a crack in its leg, and I think it's sort of that's why it's in it, because it was almost like a chink in the armour. There is a problem there that he's kind of maybe only just realised. So yeah, there's quite a lot of props.
Okay, just quickly, you shot this on a mix of DLSR and Black Magic.
Yeah.
How did you guys find that?
That was fine. It was actually I had the camera on pre-order for about a year, and it arrived on the day before the third day of filming, and I couldn't help but use it. Just I've got to use this in the film. So it was okay. I mean, I spot the difference between the two cameras a mile off, but I suppose because I've seen it so far in the edit and everything. But I'm hoping they blend together quite well.
Yeah, I couldn't pick it. So.
That's good.
Fantastic. Okay, so Dan, we'll turn to you. John, massively conflicted character. Where did the story come from? Where did he come from?
There's a bit of a backstory to this, I suppose. I must confess, I did not write the story. There's a good friend of mine who doesn't wish to kind of go a bit above that, really. But I will tell the story on sort of his behalf. Rory, the main actor, John. It was picked up on a play that he was once in called Borstal Boy.
Okay.
And Rory in this play, it was set obviously in Borstal, as far as I'm aware, the prison, and his character in this play was in the same kind of way conflicted. He was in denial of the fact that he was in that prison for rape.
Yeah.
It's only quite far through the play where it comes to a point, and they've been trying to sort of work it out of him, and eventually, it comes to the point where he really realises what he did. I think there's a line where, well, it's quite graphic. I mean, I've not seen it, but the way that I was told it by my writer friend, he wanted to kind of get that kind of display of emotion that Rory put into that play and use it in something similar in film format. Yeah. So he wrote My Name is John. Obviously, I think another inspiration, I think he just said it was a picture originally that he saw of somebody standing outside doors. It wasn't necessarily prison doors, but I think that's what he saw.
Yeah.
And that's where the story kind of leapt from originally.
Okay. So was it all scripted, or was there improv on it? It just seemed, a lot of performance seemed very natural. So.
Pretty much all of it was scripted. The one part that wasn't was the probation officer, Johnny McGarry.
Right.
His part was pretty much entirely improvised. Yeah. There was no script for that part. Johnny he had a bit of experience in improv, so we decided just to let it go, and we did a few takes. As you noticed, that whole take up the stairs, and then, well, from the bit he goes up the stairs through to the end of that scene, pretty much where he leaves, is all in one take, and we did that one take 4 or 5 times maybe. Picked out the certain points we liked, and eventually got a take we were happy with. The budget on the film was probably about £60, and that was just food.
Well-fed crews.
It was okay, yeah. We did 4 days filming. So, yeah, we did alright.
Fantastic. Okay, so before I open it up to the questions, is there anything you guys want to kind of talk about before we pressures?
I'm sorry my film played Bill with your film.
Yeah.
It was kind of like
I could hear the music, I was like, oh no, any minute now this is going to start.
The great thing was that the first line of your film was, of course, My Name Is.
Yeah.
The first line of this film was My Name Is. So I thought you'd have a bit of a
perfectly programmed
mind of kind of swap.
Okay, so let's open it up to the audience. So,
what food did you get?
Then we got some Warbus and Baps, and some slice of cheese, and a pack of water bottles, probably from Asda. Cheap as chips, really. I think we bought most of the crew at McDonald's on the main day. We did all the main dialogue in one day, and that consisted of mainly shooting at an office, which is obviously where Zoe and Rory, our main two, were talking it out. And we moved on to a flat, which we commandeered off Pascal, who appeared briefly as a drug dealer.
You thank Strange Ways in the credits.
Yes.
Do you approach them and say, look, we're going to film this thing outside?
Yeah, that basically took the approach of going there a couple of weeks beforehand, talking to somebody who, because obviously in Man they're not gonna be aware of your presence.
Yeah.
So it's a case of having a chat with somebody. Look, we want to make this film. It's only going to be a couple of shots.
We're not
We
gonna
were literally
blow
there about
anything
half
up.
an hour. Yeah. Finding out what kind of shift schedules they were on, and once they were kind of satisfied that we weren't trying to blow anything up, then it was all right. Yeah, we just knew then that 2 weeks from that day when we were there, the same people were going to be on shift, so they knew what was going to happen.
Okay, so just quickly, if no one's any questions, Just going to say quickly, what's kind of the future for? You've been shown here. What's the next step?
At the moment, I'm just doing corporate stuff to pay the bills.
Yeah. So are you sending this out to festivals?
Yeah, I've sent it to a few festivals, got rejection today.
Well, keep going.
I've got a few kind of sort of more drama sort of stuff lined up for the end of the summer, basically. But at the moment, just kind of lots of.
Fantastic.
Well, this is the first showing again for My Name's John. Just glad that it got out there because it took quite a while. There was a few delays in the post-production process, and my thanks goes out to everybody that made it possible. Ash Reed, who helped out with sound, Nick Harris, who did a great job with the soundtrack, and Tim Greenfield, who did some colour work as well. But as far as this film goes, I'm not sure. I probably will try and enter it into a few more festivals. I'm not sure where yet. I've been taking it one step at a time, but I'm hoping. I wrote a script a few years ago, and it's stayed on my computer since. I've never actually shot my own script. Yeah, exactly. It's only a short script, so hoping to film that possibly before the end of summer, maybe early autumn.
Fantastic. All right, thank you guys. Round of applause.